Mars. Everywhere you turn, the red planet is all over the news recently, and especially YouTube with talk about Martian rovers possibly discovering proof of past life. And now there's even talk about Mars hiding oceans worth of liquid water just below the surface. So what's going on? Well, first of all, let's tackle the claims that the Perseverance rover has found life on Mars.
NASA's Perseverance rover may have made an extraordinary discovery, signs of ancient life on Mars. The six-wheeled robotic explorer has found a rock that may harbour fossilised microbes that lived on the red planet billions of years ago. Samples will be sent back to Earth so scientists can have a really good look.
Most of that's right, except the part where she stated samples will be returned to Earth. Neither the rover nor NASA have the capability to do so at this time. The Perseverance rover is collecting samples, but they will likely remain with the rover until human hands can retrieve them. As for the claim itself, well, it's important to note that so far no claims actually been made, despite what you may hear and see on YouTube. NASA has not claimed that these so-called leopard spots are fossilized life, only that they're very interested in them as similar formations on Earth often are signs of past life. Keywords there being on Earth. Mars is very similar to Earth in many ways, but humans have a strong tendency to see what they want to see. Just ask Percival Lowell, who spent 15 years of his life drawing detailed images of canals on Mars that simply did not exist. Now, as for the other claim, well, YouTubers do what YouTubers do since the algorithm rewards sensational titles and eye-catching thumbnails. I'm not throwing shade, Lord knows I'm guilty of it myself from time to time, but a quick peek at the top results will show you what I mean. Though I am fond of this last one, as it's by far the most accurate when it comes to displaying what's going on. So what is going on? Well, back in 2018, NASA sent a rather unique lander, and my personal favorite since the Vikings, called the InSight lander. Using seismological equipment, it studied vibrations coming from the Martian interior until 2022 when dust on its solar panels killed it. Well, scientists have been poring over that raw data for years, and what's generated so much buzz recently is that some researchers published their interpretation of the data in a science journal known as Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. Try saying that 3 times fast. The conclusion they reached is that the data is best explained if Mars possesses an ocean's worth of liquid water, some 11 to 20 kilometers underground. Now it's important to point out a few facts. 1. This isn't a solid body of water as most thumbnails are depicting, but instead the water is spread across the porous crust of Mars in tiny cracks here and there. So obviously there's no ocean just sitting there waiting for humans to drill down to it with a straw. And 2, even if it were, reaching it is beyond our current level of technology. Sure, the Russians reached a depth of about 12 kilometers with their Kola super deep borehole, but that was over a 20-year period, and here on Earth, Martian colonists will have no such ability for the foreseeable future. And finally, even if we could somehow get all that water to the surface, there's no means to keep it there. Mars currently lacks the internal heat needed to force all that water to the surface, as happens on Earth. So, until we can park Ceres into low orbit and generate some internal heating, or import vastly more water, we're stuck with a drier Mars. But the good news is, there's still plenty enough up top to cover about a third of Mars in water. Honestly, I'm surprised this got the reaction it did. After all, it's common knowledge that worlds hide far more water inside than appears on their surface. In fact, some simulations suggest that more than 80 times the volume of Earth's oceans could be underground, but even the lowest estimates are 3 to 4 times the total surface water. And this matters because our moon is almost certainly similarly wet on the inside, having been formed from the Earth itself. In fact, samples brought back from the moon of volcanic origin, not regolith, have a near identical water content as those found on Earth. And the scenario was already better for Mars. After all, just based on the ice reserves we've discovered, and nearly every day we're discovering more, we've estimated that present-day Mars has enough water available to cover the northern third of the planet in water. And unlike the vast amounts of water researchers are speculating exist miles below the surface, most of this modern-day water can be retrieved with a shovel. Be sure to come back next week when we break down the pros and cons of colonizing Mars and what its distant future looks like.